today we have the pleasure of hearing from James Deemer. James is a solutions architect here at Bonterra with 7 years of experience in the nonprofit sector. James has a passion for helping nonprofits maximize their potential. He's a former community engagement coordinator at the AIDS Network, which is a community-minded LGBTQ advocate and organizer. He's also a researcher and report author on the 2019 Mapping the Void Needs Assessment Project. So, James, thank you so much for taking the time out to connect with us this afternoon. I'm going to go ahead and pass it to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ashley. Let me get my screen shared and we can get started.
Awesome.
There we go. Can we see that all right?
Yeah, looks great.
All right, folks. So let's talk about what the fundraising and engagement landscape looks like in 2024. I certainly don't have to tell you that the world of F&E has changed. I'm sure everyone has felt the pressure of the times that we're in. When we really dig in and look at the biggest challenges nonprofits are facing, it really seems to boil down to three key pressure points. Firstly, supporter expectations have never been higher. Younger supporters in particular expect an increasingly tailored consumer experience from us. The 2022 Accenture donor study found that 53% of Gen Z and millennial donors reported that they would donate at least 25% more if they received a highly personalized supporter experience. But also important and of note, 63% of that same demographic reported much greater attachment to loyalty to causes rather than organizations. What that translates into is that supporters are increasingly less likely to form loyal attachments to specific organizations and more likely to shop around for organizations that both one work in a cause that they care about, but also to provide the best supporter experience. And to that end, a nonprofit Time study found that 72% of supporters across all demographics reported that they would consider stopping the support of an organization if that organization did not provide a personalized experience. And all this means that when we fail to meet these increasingly high expectations, we end up losing donors and are forced to engage in a constant, expensive cycle of acquisition rather than, as you know, much cheaper and more reliable supporter retention. In addition to these high expectations around personalization, supporters also demand increasingly complex methods of interacting with you. According to GetNext market research, 72% of people now want the ability to connect with organizations through multiple different channels. And of course, the third major pressure point is capacity. The resources to run a fundraising and engagement program are shrinking, and operating costs continue to rise as staff capacity continues to shrink. If you're feeling this pressure, you're absolutely not alone because the risk that comes with not meeting these more demanding supporter expectations are not like hypothetical future models. This is happening now, and they're happening across the sector. Supporter engagement, as measured by donor retention and volunteer rates, has been on a steady decline for more than a decade. Here are just a few specific recent metrics to illustrate how challenging the situation is right now. According to the Fundraising Effectiveness Project, new donors were down 35% in Q1 of 2023. The same study revealed that 40% of donors churned and never donated to the same charity again after their first donation. And the University of Maryland School of Public Policy tells us that last year, 47% of surveyed nonprofit CEOs reported problems recruiting volunteers, and that problem's been more than doubled in the last 3 years. So all this to say, it's clear that the nonprofit sector is behind the for-profit sector in adjusting to consumer expectations, and we need to adapt quickly if we want to get ahead of this atrophy of support. So how did we get here? It's not like there's a shortage of software solutions that nonprofits are using to manage their fundraising and engagement efforts. But when we look at the data, it turns out that this is actually a part of the issue. Many organizations are using upwards of 5 separate hyper-specific solutions for their various fundraising and engagement operations. But these disjointed solutions create a situation where work is inefficient. It's often happening in duplicate or triplicate across multiple different platforms, and API integrations are complicated, so the data isn't always where it needs to be in order to keep everyone on the same page. And all of this complexity is not only creating more work for you, but it's also contributing to disjointed, inconsistent, and impersonal supporter experiences. I love this quote from Lucy Bernholtz's blog, which really sums up the feeling. She says, "More tech, fewer givers." No one invested in giving wants to hear that because sadly, innovation is in giving has become synonymous with let's throw some tech at it. But if innovation is supposed to lead to more, then it's not working. So let's talk more about how this happens. In thinking about the supporter experience that comes out of disjointed, separate, hyper-specific solutions, here's a hypothetical example to get us started. So here's a theoretical supporter. She's committed to a small monthly donation. It's less than she might be willing to give, but nobody has asked her for more than the recommended amount in the online forums ask grid. She also volunteered a couple of times, most recently at a live event. But when she received a follow-up email from the event, they included a donation request without acknowledging her status as a sustainer. She isn't turned off quite yet. She decides to attend another fundraising event and she decides to give a major gift at that event. But then a few days later, she receives a generic email from a different development team asking her to consider giving her first major gift without any recognition of her earlier gift from the same week. And then to make matters worse, she receives a generic thank you for her major gift days later. And when her annual statement arrives, it doesn't correctly account for her online giving. Experiences like this happen, and how do you think they make this supporter feel, or any hypothetical supporter feel? I imagine it would leave her feeling unappreciated and unvalued, and it would make her a pretty high risk for churn. And this is, of course, hypothetical, but these experiences happen all the time. You probably even have a personal example. I certainly do. I'm one of those increasingly rare supporters that forms loyal attachment to specific organizations. And there's one in my community that I've been a longtime supporter of. And as much as I love them and the work they do, they are absolutely repeat offenders for many of the experiences in our theoretical example. I've gotten generic MailChimp emails from them asking me to donate shortly after I already had, asking me to consider becoming a sustainer when I already was one, asking me to sign up to be a member when I had been a member for years. And obviously, being me, I don't take these things personally because of the nature of my work. I kind of know how these things can happen. But whenever they do happen, I imagine that I'm someone who's never had that peek behind the curtain. And I think about how disappointed I would feel to have an organization that I've chosen to invest my support in make me feel like they only see me as a walking, talking wallet. So all this to say that what really matters and what we need to center in is this supporter experience. The data all points to what is probably intuitive and self-evident that supporters want to feel seen and increasingly demand a deeply customized consumer type experience from the organizations that they're offering their support to. But it's important to take a step back here and point out that bad experiences like the ones that we've talked about are not primarily happening because people are not running their programs well by the standard of their internal programmatic metrics, but rather experiences like this are happening when programs are in fact very optimized. The missing piece is they're not working in concert, and the primary goal is not the supporter having one great seamless experience. Supporters, by and large, don't want 3 or 4 well-run experiences delivered by separate teams that are not collaborating because they're not 3 or 4 people. They're one person and they want to feel seen as one person supporting your one organization. When that doesn't happen, it can make them feel like you only see them as a potential dollar figure. And program specific or channel specific metrics can't be a priority at the expense of our supporters, or we're going to lose them. The future of social good fundraising and engagement depends on finding a way to deliver one supporter experience across the many channels supporters expect to be engaged with. So imagine how different our hypothetical supporter's journey would look if everyone was on the same page and her experience was holistically tracked across all the various channels through which she's engaged with the organization. She could receive a volunteer opportunity email that recognizes her past contributions, predictive insights that come from holistic understanding of her different types of engagement could help the organization reach out at the right time with the right ask. Maybe this leads her to become a sustainer with a more optimized, higher recurring gift than the one she was giving in the last example. Her first major gift at a live event would be followed by an immediate and deeply personalized thank you message, and the major giving outreach plan could adjust automatically. Her annual giving statement would correctly account for all of her contributions. These are the kinds of experiences that our supporters expect from us. And we need to ensure that we have the tools to deliver these kinds of experiences if we want to avoid the churn that is plaguing our sector. So we've covered how the proliferation of hyper-specific programmatic software can actually make this all harder to achieve. I'd like to shift gears a bit now and talk to you about how software solutions can help solve for these issues and enable your team to have a holistic view of your supporters and to help ensure your supporters' experience is frictionless and customized, leaving them feeling seen and valued by your organization. Specifically, I'm going to walk through some key features and functionality included in our Bonterra fundraising and engagement solution. And because we really have built our platform out with providing that unified experience as a core value, it's the foundation that informs every decision we make from a product development perspective. But having said that, no matter what solution you're evaluating to be able to support your fundraising and engagement efforts, I would strongly encourage you to think about what the solution can do for you from the perspective of centering the supporter experience. Does that mean you need to replace your entire tech stack with just one unified solution? I mean, not necessarily. There are also unified marketing solutions that can plug into your existing CRM that can help enormously as well. We even have a solution like that at Bonterra. Our Bonterra engagement platform delivers on that. The key, though, is the ability to prioritize a unified experience because when we make that the centerpiece of our efforts, our supporters will be left feeling deeply valued and appreciated, and we'll get ahead of the trends that we've been discussing. And our results really speak for themselves. Just a few of my favorite customer success stories include Habitat for Humanity increasing their total revenue raised by 242%, or the Matthew Reardon Center for Autism increasing their fundraising from individuals by 300%, or Covenant House, they saw a 22 increase in new first-time donors. So let's dive in and take a look at some features and functionality that are included in our platform and the kinds of features and functionality you'll want to be on the lookout for when you're evaluating software. Let me pull up the solution here. There we go. Sorry, technical issues here. Let's pull the solution up again. There we go. Ashley, you can see that? Okay, great. So I really wanted to start on our contact record in Bonterra fundraising and engagement, because our one CRM methodology means that every single thing that this supporter has done, has engaged with our organization, is reflected here in this one central place. Having one solution that handles all of the marketing and handles all of the CRM, handles your direct mail, and handles all of the different pieces, volunteering, membership, all flows into this contact record. And we're able to have a fully holistic view of how Charlene Meyer engages with our organization. In the middle is two different kinds of feeds. The first is an activity feed, and the activity feed shows us every action that Charlene has engaged with us, whether that's volunteering, whether that's signing up for an advocacy event, whether it's making a pledge. And then there's also a financial tab where we're keeping track of all of the transaction history as well. And then free-form notes that are completely searchable. So you could search through the solution for every time Charlene mentioned pets if you wanted to have a conversation with her on the phone and check and see if she's a dog or cat person ahead of time. You can search all of these free-form notes as well as pin them up here. One of the most sort of magical pieces, I think, that is included in our solution is activist codes, and this is our custom segmentation tool. We obviously have tags, like every solution has tags that are kind of out of the box, but activist codes are really flexible. There's always a prefix and then a free form piece of text afterwards that allows you to really deeply segment based on all of the ways that supporters have engaged with you. And activist codes don't have to be manually managed. There are a couple of different ways that they can be applied or taken away automatically without your development team having to manage all the different ways that you're keeping track of how Charlene keeps organized with you. There is a pretty sophisticated automation tool that I'll talk about in a minute, but also all of our different forms have automatically the ability to apply activist codes when someone fills them out. So if somebody replies to a targeted email and navigates to a giving form that's for a specific campaign, an activist tag can be applied to that person's account automatically, just at the level of the form designer. And with the more complex automations, they can be applied and taken away based on any sort of logic that you want to set up. So, for example, maybe if Charlene volunteers for 5 different events in a year, that makes her a super volunteer. The automation can keep track of all the events that she has engaged in and automatically apply that tag. Maybe 10 events makes her a super duper volunteer. And so the automation could take away the super volunteer tag and apply the super duper volunteer tag. So it really allows you to make sure that the right people are hearing the right messages from you. Speaking of segmentation, our lists are also quite nice. Let's jump into our segmentation tool here, create a list. And the first thing you'll notice, this query overlay is using plain language, so it's very easy to navigate and use. And you can segment by things like activist codes or any other way the person has engaged with you. So for example, if I wanted to pull up a LiveOn list, people who donated last year, but unfortunately not yet this year, I can set that I want to search for either financial households, individuals, or both, and then navigate down to most recent contribution is in the range of last year. Nope, that's last quarter. Last year, there we go. We can preview to make sure everything's working the way it's supposed to. It happens immediately, so this isn't a query tool where you're setting it to go and then going and taking your lunch and coming back and hoping that it all worked out. And it looks like this is a good number of people, so let's go ahead and run the search. And again, it happens pretty instantaneously. The nice thing about these lists is that they can be saved dynamically. So if I was on your LiveOn list up until this morning, and I decided that I was going to make a contribution 5 minutes ago, if you've saved this list dynamically, you don't have to run the list again to send out a LiveOn targeted message. I'll be taken out of that list because the logic will know that I've made that contribution, and it'll remove me from the list sort of dynamically without you having to constantly be running them. And then speaking of that automation piece, automation is equally sort of plain language, easy to set up. I think I have a good one pulled up here. Yeah, so this is a new donor welcome series. And you can see that it's pretty easy to start. It can be triggered by any sort of event to get the process started. But it can be really super complex. You can build in a lot of different stuff going on in these complex automations, making it really easy to visualize sort of what the flow is. If the person doesn't open their email, we're going to wait a week and then we're going to try again, versus if they do open it, we can reply in whatever way we want to. And these automations can really take a lot of that heavy lift out of the deep segmentation that our solution enables to be possible. And obviously, we are 10 minutes away from the end of our time together, and I want to make sure that there's room for questions. So I don't have time to go into all of the features and functionality. I'd love the opportunity to do a full demo with anybody on this call. Make sure you hit up Ashley and we can set that up. But some other things that I want to draw your attention to that help to enable these really deep personalized experiences that is included in our platform is our merge fields. You can merge fields anything that's been recorded in the solution. So basically any data point can be pulled into these custom tailored, very personalized messages. We have baked in predictive analytics that make it easy for you to target the right people with the right ask at the right time. It's just a few clicks to set it up, and the optimized ask will go out, and it's based on the holistic data that you've gathered on your supporters across all the different ways that they've engaged with you. And a wholly unique to us feature is the ability to unlock one-click conversions through our fast action network effect. Essentially, supporters' autofill data can be stored securely and applied to any of our customers' forms and across any different organization that has the feature turned on. So if I made a contribution to my favorite organization, organization A, and they're a Bonterra customer and it was on a Bonterra form, maybe I also want to make a contribution to organization B and they're also using the Bonterra contribution form. My autofill data can automatically just be autofilled across those two different organizations, and allow me to just convert with one click. And our research shows that this increases conversion rates by an average of 30% for customers who are using the tool. And this is just scratching the surface of what's possible with tools when they are designed to ensure that the supporter experience is what's being centered. So to sort of wrap up my TED Talk here, the biggest takeaway I'm hoping for you to take from this is that no matter what solution you're evaluating to support your fundraising and engagement efforts, we need to get away from hyper-focused point solutions and look towards solutions that can give us that holistic and complete view of our supporters. Point solutions create added complexity and layers of duplicated work, and they don't solve for the most existential challenges we're facing in this moment. And of course, as I said earlier, a whole CRM replacement is not always necessary to accomplish this. There are marketing and engagement solutions out there that can unify your digital outreach, that communicate seamlessly with your CRM, including tools that we provide right here at Bonterra. But whether it's time for you to take the plunge into an entirely holistic system, or you're needing to clean up too many various disjointed point solutions, I think the answer is clear. If we're going to get ahead of the worrying trends we're seeing across the industry and set our organizations up for success, then the software we use must easily allow us to ensure our supporter experience is an excellent one, and that it's custom tailored and unique to the varied ways that your supporters are engaging with you. And with that, I'm going to pass the mic back to Ashley.
Awesome. Thanks so much, James. This was great. A lot of good information for those attending. And I love the kind of sneak peek into the tool and what it can do. Yeah, thanks so much. So, folks, if you are interested in seeing more of what was shown this afternoon, like James said, he'd be happy to have a personalized demo with anyone interested. I'm going to go ahead and launch just a quick poll here. And feel free to fill that out. And like I said, I'll have one of my colleagues reach out to you after today's session. But yeah, James, it looks like we had a couple of questions come in. A question came in from James who asked if Bonterra integrates with MailChimp.
Yeah, and not natively, because Bonterra fundraising and engagement has its own email targeted email tool with functionality that's comparable, and the benefit of using the one that's baked into the solution, that sort of one holistic solution vibe that we're going for, is that all of your reporting is all in the same place. All of your merge fields are pulling from your contact records. It's frankly simpler to use the built-in email tool than it would be to try and use MailChimp alongside with our marketing tool.
Right. Awesome. Thanks. And James also had the question of whether or not we have the ability to perform surveys within our tool.
Yeah, we have a number of different form types that are all built with the same WYSIWYG editor. It's pretty simple, like guided process to set up your different forms, and surveys are absolutely possible.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Perfect. And then we had a question come in from Mia, and it looks like she asked, or we're currently exploring new robust platforms to handle our marketing alongside managing our donors. Would you say that those two tie into the unified experience for supporters?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's crucial to have the CRM and the marketing tools working in concert together. And I mean, like, that is the foundation of our platform, making sure that all that information is flowing into that one central place so that different development teams can all be on the same page and not making those mistakes that we talked about with that theoretical supporter, or I talked about my own personal experience with, where it feels like the organization doesn't even know me. They aren't even acknowledging that I'm already a member,
Yeah.
making you feel unvalued. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like everyone has that experience, which is unfortunate, at least once where you donate to an organization and you either never hear back or it only is soliciting more funds, which doesn't make for the greatest supporter experience. So definitely can relate there. Awesome. Well, James, it doesn't look like we have any additional questions coming in. Folks want to give you a couple seconds, but yeah, James, again, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Thank you for your presentation. And just want to thank everyone in attendance here for their time and their engagement. It's very much appreciated.